welcome back to Thursday Thoughts with Damaris. Today we are going over athletics applying to life. I think I titled it something different, but it's along the same lines. You guys get the gist. To give a brief summary of who I am, I played college softball, played softball my whole entire life, and I'm kind of making this to reassure people who think that athletics really only stays to athletics. There's real proof and evidence that I'm going to give to why I think there's so many more transferable skills from being an athlete to being in the workforce, being an actual adult, that have genuinely helped me. And maybe this sparks some, you want to put it on your LinkedIn, you want to add it to an interview, and you're a post-grad athlete who really doesn't know how to navigate those things. People love athletes, or they hate them. So you have to be a really good person first, and then you can be an athlete. You know what I mean? Like, in order to be loved, you also have to be a good person. But from my perspective, it's a cool ad that I'm an athlete. So I'm going to give that perspective here, I guess. Transferable skill number 1 is staying neutral. This is so important because you see people who throw fits over the most small, minuscule thing that they don't need to throw a fit for. And as an athlete, I was a catcher. So I was right next to the umpire. I couldn't just turn around and be like, what the hell, Blue? What kind of call is that? I'm not going to start a fight over something that's truly not going to affect the whole entire game in the grand scheme of things. So when you put it that way, one small thing isn't going to ruin your day. And I feel like having more control over your emotions and how you react to things, if you're a mature athlete that knows how to control their anger, control their sadness, whatever, then you'll be fine. You're able to stay level-headed through adversity, and that's a very awesome skill to have. Number 2 is competitiveness. I've been told I'm a competitor, I'm competitive, and I never really enjoyed competing against other people. I really like competing against myself and how can I be better. I enjoyed it for the softball reason, of course. You want to win. That's your main goal. You want to win, you'll find a way. It's the same with life, and if you took the competitiveness, not the direction of competing against other people because it's weird and grow up, if you're competing against other people, you're strange, I'm not gonna lie. So when you're taking that, competing against yourself, being the best employee, being the best business owner, being the best, healthiest version of yourself, being the best version of yourself, you're constantly competing against who you were yesterday, who you were an hour ago, type of deal. So I'd say competitiveness is a big standout trait that most athletes have, and that is something that many, many people find a valuable asset to a team, to a friendship, to whatever it is. Very, very valuable. Number 3, time management. I was always 15 minutes early to the 15 minutes early point. You know what I mean? You'd practice, you'd always be 15 minutes early, but then you also be 15 minutes early to that so that you're not late to 15 minutes early. And now that I'm an adult, I do the same thing with work. I'm always 15 minutes early, and I'm always running a little ahead of time. My clocks are turned 10 minutes ahead. And that's just one thing that I pride myself on in, the world we live in where people are like, time blindness, blah, blah, blah. And it's just set some clocks. I remember I had a roommate who had alarm clocks for every time she had to do something. It was okay, Tay, go and finish your math homework, whatever. I don't know, whatever it was. It's okay, boom, she has an alarm for it. And it would go off. And yeah, it was working. That's what I'd say. Because I'm yeah, you can say all day, oh, it's annoying to have this. Because I do that myself with my calendars. I have little notifications on when to be somewhere and when I should leave, things like that. So I know how to run ahead. And that's just an advice for anybody who's constantly running behind. Set your clocks 10 minutes behind. Set alarms for things that you want to do and give yourself time before once the alarm goes, you have 5-minute window. I think time management is one of my best things, is that I always know how much time certain things take, and I'm not underestimating. If anything, I'm always overestimating. So yeah, time management, huge, great, valuable thing to have post-grad. Number 4, accepting failure. You can tell when somebody has never failed in their life or been told that they're bad at something just by their reaction and whether or not they actually want to keep going. Like, learning how to fail is not, oh, I failed, that's it. Like, you are learning to fail and look at the situation again and say, what's going to work the next time I do this? And that applies with like work. I see it all the time where I'm like, oh, did I mess up on this? Okay, the next time I'm going to do this so I don't mess up the next time, right? And it's never anything like major, but it's, it's something that like you'll always learn from. And it's the same with, lifting or eating, or like I always think about the things I'm doing. So like journaling, or I don't know, guitar was one. I'm like, I keep failing this note. I can't get my finger to go this way. I can. I just need to keep practicing it. So it's like learning how to fail so that we'll get to the next part, but to practice, I guess. And so to wrap my head around all this, learning how to fail is a very valuable asset, because when you know how to fail, you know how to learn, right? So you'll never really fail. There's like that big quote. It's you don't fail, or I don't fail. I either learn or win. And I love that quote so much because it's so true. Like, I don't feel like I'm a failure if I fail at something. I don't feel any less than. I just feel like, well, that happened. Cool. So what can I do to not do that again? Is kind of the gist of that. Man, my favorite word today, gist. I don't know why. Number 5, importance to practicing and detail. I loved doing tee work. When I was playing softball, I loved going to the cages, doing tee work, doing glove work so that I look good catching, doing the little things, working on my hand to glove or hand to ball, whatever movements. I loved breaking things down, and I still do that. I love to break down my day. I love to break down the little things that I have to work on. I have to break down my lifts. When I first started like going back to lift and taking it more seriously, I was working on my form, like big time. I dropped every single weight and was like, okay, I need to work on getting lower. I need to work on getting more depth. I need to work on benching properly. And ever since I did that, I'm up weight now, but it's like, slowing that down meant a lot for me in the long run, and for the health of my own body. Like, it was like, I can either not work on this and maybe hurt myself in the future, or I can work on this. So attention to detail is important, even when you see it in work. You're paying attention to the little things that you need to do right in order to fully succeed. Looking at I just heard this quote, but it's climbing a mountain. You spend 90% of it climbing, 10% at the top looking at the view, right? So that's going to be the most important thing you're going to take away from that. It's the same with softball, right? Like, you're not going to change your outcome if you're not practicing, if you're not paying attention to the details that you need to fix in order to be great. And I feel like that was a really big thing to know post graduating, post my softball career. There are definitely more. I just am saving room for a sequel. But yeah, this is just reassurance that if you're an athlete and you feel like not a lot of these things are transferable, just know they are. People love to see an athlete come walk by because they know an athlete's brain is wired differently, and it's wired to learn. That's what's crazy. You spend a lot of your career learning how to do things and really knowing and being super knowledgeable of why you do things. That's super important into every single little aspect in your life. So yeah, with that being said, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope everybody has a wonderful day. Peace and love.